What's up, supporters? I wanted to talk about the Mama event, but specifically the Dodge Demon. And I'm probably going to do a video publicly. I'm going to do some videos publicly about this stuff, but I wanted to talk about it here first. So every year, somebody sponsors one of the dinner. It's banquet style. They feed you. They give you free booze. You know, you talk, and then they do an unveiling of a car usually, or some car they bring. So last year, FCA brought the Viper ACR and unveiled it there. This year, they trailered a Dodge Viper in some new color they haven't shown, or not a Dodge Viper, I'm sorry, a Dodge Demon that they hadn't, the color they hadn't seen, and they brought their chassis suspension engine there to describe it and talk about it, and everybody gets to stand around, look at it, and they rev the motor, all this hoopla. And then afterwards, you can talk to the guy if you want to. So after 15 minutes, everybody disappears to go eat, and I'm the only one out there with this dude talking about this car, because to me, this is a big deal for an American car company to produce something like this. Whether you think it's shit, a joke, all this stuff, it is a big deal. It's the fastest car, pretty much production car ever, in a straight line. So there's a lot of cool stuff to ask about it, how they did it. So I asked him a whole bunch of questions, and some of the questions that I talked to him about, he flat out told me, he's like, people never ask these types of questions of him. And I think, again, I talked about this earlier, it's indicative of maybe modern journalism. People don't care, who knows, maybe people aren't into it as much as I am. So I asked him about what they had to change to make the Demon work over the Hellcat. And he basically said they didn't have to change anything with the suspension. They didn't have to reinforce wheel bearings, substructure, bushings, nothing. The only thing they did was retune the dampers because the car needs to be softer, and they softened up the spring rates. They did change one control arm in the back to make it more rigid, but for the most part, it's a softened up Hellcat with wider, stickier tires, and that's about it. And then most of the other changes were done to the transmission. The main change to the ZF Trans was they had them develop a Trans with an engine brake in it, and because you can't hold the amount of power by standing on the brakes, holding the brake with your left foot and then revving up the gas, it won't hold the tires to give you that rear burnout, to get the rear going quick enough. So to make a production car with an engine brake, it really hasn't been done. I mean, drag racers do it, but so the engine holds the forward gear, first gear, and reverse at the same time, so the car is ready to launch quickly. So he talked about that. The cooling system's been changed, and I specifically asked him about the cooling system, because with the Hellcat, they said the cooling system will work for 20 minutes on a track day. So this will not run, this car will not run 20 minutes at a track day. It's not designed for that. But you can run 20 minutes of back-to-back quarter-mile runs. So you can come to a stop, pull around, do your quarter-mile run, pull off the track, putt back, get back in line, run it over and over for 20 minutes. That's what they designed it for. It's not a road race car. It will heat soak out. It will start to have heat problems if you try to road race or, drive this car on a circuit. So I think a lot of these details, I wanted to know about. There's a lot more I talked to him about, but again, I wanted to share that with you guys before I made a public video. And it was cool to have access to some of this stuff. Obviously, driving it was not possible. They wouldn't let us take it out, of course. There's only 3,000 of them for the US. I think there's going to be like 500 for Canada, if I'm not mistaken. So it will be a limited car. I asked the reps about what they're going to do to deal with dealer markup, and they said they know it's going to be a problem, and they have some things in place to try to help it, but they know it's going to be an issue, and we'll see. I would say if you know anybody that has the money, just pre-order one and buy it and just hold on to it, because this is a car that will be worth well over $100,000, well over that. If you hold on to it for 10, 20 years, it's one of those cars that will be a collector car for sure. I asked the engineer about, they're getting rid of this chassis. I asked him specifically about the architecture. the architecture of the Demon and Hellcat, it's, you know, based on the Daimler Chrysler chassis or the Mercedes chassis from, you know, fucking 20 years ago, and they've been modifying this architecture forever. And that's, I said, how are you guys going to fit these massive V8s in the new Alfa Giorgio chassis that they're supposed to change over to the Charger Hellcat platform? And of course he can't say anything. He wouldn't say, and that's not really what I was asking him to tell me, but I wanted to know how they were planning on doing it. So they've stretched out this architecture longer, so the Hellcat and the Charger, all those cars are going to be around for another like 4 years while they continue development on the Alfa chassis that they're going to use in the future. But what he did say was, the architectures never stay the same. They're designed to be modified and repurposed and changed. He said, you know, this chassis that we're using is not the same chassis. It is the same architecture, but it's been modified so heavily since they started back in the early 2000s that they've been able to do all this stuff with it because it was such a good foundation. So there's nothing to say that they can't do something similar with the Alfa chassis, but it's going to require years and years of development to modify it, to get it to that place where maybe they could do a Hellcat or something ridiculous on that. But they're very tepid on that. They don't know if that's possible. So, again, it's just good insight talking to these people and asking the right questions the right way. And, you know, I just wanted to talk about that. I thought it was cool. If you think it's cool, great. If not, well, sorry. But again, thanks for watching and thanks for supporting this stuff. And see you later.